They think silence means surrender. They think distance means disinterest. They think because you stopped talking, it stopped mattering. But let me tell you something most people don't understand. Just because someone walked away doesn't mean they stopped watching. Every night, when the noise fades and the world gets quiet, that's when the truth gets loud. That's when thoughts come back. That's when memories knock. That's when you show up again. So if you think it's over, listen closely. Because some endings don't end. They just go underground. Silence is often misunderstood. Most people think when someone stops speaking, it's a sign that they no longer care. They assume that no texts, no calls, no messages of any kind mean the story is over. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Silence is not the absence of feeling. It's the presence of complexity. It's the pause in the conversation where emotions get tangled, where pride and fear and confusion meet. When someone chooses to stay silent, it's not always because they have moved on. It's often because they are battling something internally far more complicated than words could express. The quiet can be deliberate, a shield to protect themselves, or a space where they are trying to understand what they still feel. People underestimate the power of silence because they only measure life in moments that are loud, visible, and convenient. They forget that what is unseen can be the strongest, most persistent force of all. Silence is loud in its own way. Every unreturned message, every unanswered call carries weight. It forces you to think, to question, to analyze intentions and actions that are left unspoken. But while it can be agonizing for the one waiting, for the person on the other side, silence is often a form of survival. They are processing, reflecting, sometimes even doubting themselves as much as they doubt the world around them. In those quiet moments, they revisit memories, replay conversations, and imagine outcomes they could never voice. Silence is a kind of honesty because it doesn't offer the easy comfort of a rehearsed explanation. It lays the truth bare, not in statements, but in restraint, in hesitation, and in the invisible care that remains even when words fail. It's a paradox. Silence can feel like abandonment, but it's often the clearest sign that emotions are still very much alive, just restrained. The misconception of silence as closure is dangerous because it blinds people to reality. People see the empty phone screen and assume emptiness inside. They read a lack of communication as a lack of concern, but that assumption rarely aligns with truth. Emotions do not disappear because someone stops speaking. They hide in plain sight, waiting for the right moment, or perhaps waiting for courage to emerge. The quiet is not a cancellation of feeling, it's often an accumulation. It's the silent heartbeats of longing that aren't ready to be confessed, the invisible glances and thoughts that linger even when presence does not. Those who misinterpret silence fail to see that it's not absence that matters, it's intention. Every person who chooses silence is communicating something, even if it isn't obvious, even if it isn't convenient. Understanding this subtlety is the difference between despair and insight. Silence is also a test, sometimes for the one who remains, and sometimes for the one who retreats. For the person waiting, it challenges patience and resilience. It forces reflection, self-awareness, and sometimes a reevaluation of what truly matters. For the one who is silent, it is a test of strength, a struggle to balance feelings with fear, pride, or uncertainty. They may fear rejection, or they may be wrestling with their own imperfections and insecurities. The quiet is a battlefield of thought, where every decision carries emotional weight. Every unspoken word is measured, weighed, and reconsidered. And even in the quiet, there is a kind of vigilance, an ongoing attention that never fully disappears. This is why silence is never truly silent. It hums with thought, memory, and care that cannot be captured in text or voice. It is living proof that absence is not synonymous with indifference. Finally, silence is a mirror of connection that refuses to fade. It shows that emotional bonds are rarely so fragile that they vanish at the first sign of conflict, misunderstanding, or distance. The fact that someone can stay silent for days, weeks, or even months, and yet still carry your presence in their mind is a testament to the strength of human attachment. It is evidence that some connections run deeper than conversation, deeper than performance, deeper than the fleeting noise of everyday life. Silence doesn't close the door. It leaves it slightly ajar, allowing reflection, longing, and memory to seep in. It is not a final chapter. It is a pause, a prelude to revelation, a sign that the story is far from over. And in that quiet space, even when you think they've moved on, they are still watching, still thinking, still holding on in their own invisible, unspoken way. Walking away looks simple from the outside. People see someone leaving and think the story ends there. They assume that distance erases desire, that leaving means letting go. But human attachment is rarely that neat. Bonds aren't built in a single moment. They are forged over time in shared experiences, laughter, struggles, and even unspoken understanding. To walk away physically is one thing, to detach emotionally is another. The heart remembers long after the feet have left. The mind revisits old conversations, old gestures, old glances that meant more than words could ever express. Attachment doesn't end with a goodbye. It lingers in patterns, in routines, in the quiet spaces where memories replay themselves endlessly. Even when someone seems distant, even when their presence fades, the emotional footprint they left behind refuses to disappear overnight. Distance does not equal disconnection. People often underestimate how much someone can continue to care even when they are miles away or moments apart. Leaving doesn't delete the moments shared. It simply changes how they are remembered. There are nights when thoughts sneak in uninvited, memories that resurface when the world slows down, and questions that rise unbidden in the dark. Did I make the right choice? Am I missing something that matters? Those reflections are not signs of weakness. They are evidence of depth. Attachment is not transactional. It's not bound by convenience or immediate contact. It exists quietly, persistently, often in ways the outside world can't see or comprehend. Walking away may shift the dynamics, but it cannot erase the emotional gravity that still pulls both hearts toward the same orbit. Walking away also tests resilience. Both theirs and yours. They may leave to protect themselves, to create space, or to escape uncertainty, but leaving doesn't eliminate the emotional connection. In fact, for many, leaving intensifies awareness. The void created by absence forces reflection, regret, and sometimes longing. They may check in quietly, not to intrude, but because the bond they share refuses to be ignored. They replay moments in their mind, imagine conversations they wish they could have, and wonder how life would feel if things had been different. Physical separation may be necessary, but it cannot dissolve the emotional wiring that ties one person to another. Attachment is stubborn. It resists logic, distance, and circumstance. Existing in the silent corners of thought, memory, and unexpressed desire. The paradox of leaving is that it doesn't just affect the one who walks away, it affects the one left behind, too. The absence creates tension, curiosity, and sometimes a profound sense of being missed without words. The one left behind senses that something remains unspoken, that the connection has not fully severed. They notice small signs, the glance that lingers too long, the indirect questions, the subtle attempts to maintain proximity in ways that aren't obvious. This is the hidden language of attachment, a quiet dialogue that exists outside of texts and calls. Walking away might alter the surface of a relationship, But underneath, the emotional current continues to flow, unnoticed by those who only measure connection by visible presence. Ultimately, walking away is never truly a severance. It is a pause, a shift, a test of emotional endurance. Bonds that are genuine do not vanish because distance exists. Attachment is an invisible thread that stretches across space and time, unbroken by absence or circumstance. Even when someone leaves, they carry you in their thoughts, in the private moments of reflection, in the nights when the world is quiet and they are left with nothing but memory. You may never see this and you may never hear it, but it exists nonetheless. And the truth is simple: walking away doesn't erase what was built. It simply forces it to adapt, to survive in the shadows, waiting for the moment when it can reveal itself again. During the day, pride is a shield. It stands tall, polished, and unyielding, presenting the image of control and strength to the world. It convinces others, and sometimes even the person wearing it, that everything is fine. Texts go unanswered, calls are ignored, and distance is maintained, all in the name of protecting oneself. Pride whispers, you can't show them what they might take advantage of. You can't let them see how much you still care. It becomes the armor people wear to protect their hearts from vulnerability, rejection, and uncertainty. During daylight, it works. It convinces them, convinces the world, and sometimes even convinces themselves. But pride, no matter how polished, has a flaw: it cannot control the quiet hours. Night changes everything. When the world grows silent, when distractions fade, and the constant noise of responsibility subsides, pride loses its grip. The mask slips. Those carefully constructed walls that hid fear, longing, and regret begin to crack under the weight of reflection. It's in these quiet moments that love, or what remains of it, becomes impossible to ignore. Memories replay themselves with sharp clarity. Moments of connection come rushing back, and the things left unsaid echo louder than anything spoken. The pride that kept them from reaching out during the day cannot silence the questions that haunt them at night. Did I do the right thing? Am I missing something real? This is when the conflict between ego and emotion becomes painfully visible. Pride may prevent someone from texting, calling, or admitting what they feel, but it cannot erase the internal reality of attachment. Even the strongest facade cannot stop the mind from wandering to the people who mattered most. Thoughts of shared laughter, intimate conversations, and moments that defined the connection return uninvited. Regret creeps in quietly, unannounced, reminding them of what was sacrificed for the sake of appearing strong. At night, they can no longer ignore what they once brushed off during the day. The armor that seemed so effective under sunlight falters when faced with the honesty that darkness brings. Pride can delay action, but it cannot erase emotion, and it cannot stop someone from checking in silently, even if only in their thoughts. There is a strange beauty in this struggle. Pride and love, in opposition, reveal the complexity of the human heart. One wants to maintain composure, dignity, and self-respect, while the other pulls insistently toward care, curiosity, and sometimes longing. They coexist uneasily, fighting for dominance in every quiet hour. The tug of war between them leaves a mark. The person may walk, may act indifferent, may even speak harshly, but the emotional attachment lingers. It hums quietly in the background, persistent and undeniable. The night becomes a confessional where truth can no longer be denied, and the internal battle between ego and feeling plays out without audience or distraction. Ultimately, the nights reveal what the days hide. Pride can control appearances, dictate responses, and shape perception, but it cannot erase the subtle pull of love or attachment. In the dark, when the world is still and the mind is free from the obligation to perform, the truth emerges. It shows itself in lingering thoughts, unspoken what ifs and quiet reflections on what was lost or left unresolved. The tension between pride and love ensures that even when someone seems gone, they are never truly absent. Their care, their attention, and their connection remain alive in the quiet hours, reminding them, and perhaps you, that some things cannot be abandoned no matter how hard pride tries to convince the world otherwise. Growth is a silent signal, one that speaks louder than words ever could. When someone rises above the pain, the disappointment, or the distance, they send a message without needing to say a thing. The world sees the change in posture, in confidence, in the way they carry themselves through life. But the person who thought they could walk away notices it in ways they cannot hide from themselves. Every achievement, every stride forward, every moment of composure becomes a mirror reflecting what they lost. Growth has a way of haunting those who underestimate it, not through confrontation, but through undeniable presence. You don't need to remind them you exist. They see it every time you shine in ways they cannot control. Growth is unsettling because it is proof of resilience. When someone thought your absence would break you, or your silence would silence you, they witness the exact opposite. You rise, you thrive, you evolve. Every obstacle overcome becomes a quiet declaration that the connection they left behind is not the sum of your value. It is the realization that what they walked away from is still alive, still vibrant, and still moving forward without them. And while pride may prevent them from acknowledging it openly, night after night, they recognize it in their reflections, in the quiet, in those moments when they think you're unaware. Growth doesn't ask permission. It simply exists and commands attention in the most inescapable way. Growth also exposes the contrast between what was and what is. The person who thought they could leave assumes that absence diminishes importance, that distance erases influence. But seeing someone move forward, mature, and claim their space in the world highlights what they missed. It is not just progress, it is a reminder of the connection they underestimated, the potential they ignored, and the bond they could not fully appreciate. Every step you take, every goal you reach, becomes a subtle yet undeniable testimony to your worth. And though they may try to ignore it, pride cannot fully shield them from the awareness that the life you are building is one they will never fully control or influence again. Growth is also transformative in ways that silence cannot be. While they were absent, you were becoming more than they could have imagined, reshaping yourself into a person who commands attention not through effort, but through presence. You no longer wait for validation from them. Your value is self-evident. And in that transformation lies a quiet, persistent magnetism. Even if they tell themselves they don't care, even if they avoid reaching out, every night when the world grows quiet, they remember. They see the evidence of your growth reflected in everything they once overlooked, and it cannot be erased. Growth does not just improve you. It forces recognition, whether it's admitted or not. Ultimately, growth makes you unforgettable. It is the proof that life continues, that strength persists, and that attachment cannot simply disappear. While they may have believed absence would allow them to move on, your progress becomes a subtle, nightly reminder of what remains in their thoughts. You are impossible to ignore because you refuse to be diminished, defined, or delayed by anyone else's choices. The transformation, the quiet victories, and the life you continue to build silently call out across the distance, compelling attention whether they want it or not. Growth doesn't ask for acknowledgement, it demands it in the most profound, inescapable way. Regret is a quiet visitor. It doesn't announce itself with noise or urgency. It creeps in slowly, often when the world has stopped demanding attention. During the day, distractions are abundant: work, social obligations, responsibilities, and the endless hum of life keep the mind occupied. But at night, when the lights dim and the noise fades, there is no escape from what was left unresolved. Every choice, every hesitation, every moment of pride or fear comes back to the forefront, unfiltered and unavoidable. The mind replays the scenes, rewinds conversations, and imagines alternative outcomes, whispering the painful question, did I handle it right? Did I walk away too soon? Regret is relentless because it thrives in the absence of distraction. The person who thought leaving would free them from emotion discovers that no amount of busy work can erase what they truly feel. Memories of what they had and what they lost emerge with startling clarity. They begin to recall not only the shared experiences, but the emotions behind them. The laughter, the trust, the unspoken understanding that existed when no one else was watching. And in those moments of clarity, the pride that held them back during the day feels heavier, more suffocating. They realize that absence may have created distance, but it cannot prevent the heart from revisiting what it still values most. Regret doesn't only awaken longing, it awakens reflection. The person begins to analyze every decision they made, questioning motives, timing, and actions. They may ask themselves why they didn't fight harder, why they didn't say more, or why they let fear and ego guide their choices. Even small, seemingly insignificant moments gain disproportionate weight under the lens of night. Every unspoken word and every unexpressed emotion transforms into a lesson that comes too late to undo what has already happened. And in this silent reckoning, they realize that leaving, walking away, or remaining distant never truly changes the fact that attachment endures, sometimes stronger than ever. Regret also bridges the gap between the present and the past. It is a subtle reminder that life is lived not in intentions, but in actions. They may convince themselves they are okay, that they have moved on, but the quiet moments reveal a different truth. Even when they avoid reaching out, even when they act as if the connection no longer matters, the memory of what was and what could have been remains. It becomes a constant companion in the stillness, a presence that cannot be ignored. Night after night, it returns, forcing them to confront emotions they cannot articulate and compelling them to check on the person they thought they could forget. Ultimately, regret is the proof that absence does not equal indifference. It is the shadow that follows every step they take, a silent acknowledgement that what they left behind continues to matter. When distraction fades, the heart and mind cannot lie. They reveal the truth that pride, business, or distance could never conceal. The connection persists, and the person realizes, sometimes too late, that walking away does not sever the ties of emotion. Regret is persistent because it is fueled by the recognition of what was real, what was lost, and what was left unacknowledged. And in that quiet, relentless truth, the reality becomes clear even when someone seems gone. The impact of their presence endures, visiting nightly in ways words cannot contain. Too often, people allow someone else's choices to define their value. They mistake absence, indifference, or rejection for a measure of self-worth. But the truth is simple and unshakable. Your worth is not a reflection of anyone else's ability or inability to recognize it. Decisions made by others are guided by their own limitations, fears, and insecurities, not by the reality of who you are. Someone walking away, staying silent, or doubting your importance does not diminish your value. It only reveals the lens through which they see the world. Your worth is inherent. It is yours alone, untouched by their judgments, unaffected by their choices, and unshakable regardless of their absence. Understanding this truth requires perspective. When someone still checks on you at night, even quietly, It confirms something they may never articulate. They know your presence matters. The fact that you linger in their mind proves that you left an impression too significant to erase. Their choices cannot remove that. In reality, attachment, care, and awareness are evidence of your impact, proof that you were never as invisible to them as they tried to appear to be. Your actions, your growth, your integrity, and your consistency carry a weight that is independent of their ability to recognize it. And in those quiet hours, when the world falls away, they confront that weight whether they admit it or not. Your worth is also reflected in your resilience. Life does not reward dependency on others for validation. It rewards the strength to stand on your own, to rise above judgment, and to continue forward even when someone fails to see your value. The more you understand and embrace your worth, the less their decisions can shake you. Their absence becomes less of a void and more of a backdrop against which your growth and strength shine. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. The fact that you continue to move, to love, to achieve, and to live authentically speaks louder than any acknowledgement they could offer. Your value exists beyond their gaze, independent of their opinions, and beyond the limits of their recognition. Worth is also a matter of self-definition. No one has the power to dictate what you deserve, how much you matter, or how deeply you impact others. Every night someone thinks of you, even without saying it, it is a reflection of the truth they cannot fully deny. You are important, and your presence is significant. Their decision to walk away or stay distant does not rewrite history or erase the connection. It only highlights their inability to fully appreciate it. When you define your own worth, you reclaim power over your narrative. You see yourself clearly without relying on their approval, without needing their validation, and without letting their choices shape your self-perception. Finally, your worth is enduring. It survives pride, distance, and even the regrets of others. It does not waver in the face of silence, disappear because someone walked away, or diminish when attachment lingers unnoticed. Your value is a constant, a force that exists with or without acknowledgement. When someone still checks on you at night, it is merely a mirror reflecting what they already know, but cannot articulate. You matter profoundly and unmistakably. The ultimate truth is this: your worth is yours to claim, unshaken by anyone's choices, untouched by anyone's absence, and undeniable in the quiet moments when the world finally stops to listen. It has always been yours, and it always will be. So if you think it's over, remember this: endings are rarely as final as they seem. Time may pass, distance may grow, and words may go unsaid, but the truth does not disappear. What you gave, what you were, and what you became cannot be erased. Someone may walk away, someone may stay silent, but your presence, your strength, and your value are undeniable. And for those who are still thinking of you in the quiet of the night, it is proof that connection endures beyond the surface, beyond convenience, beyond appearances. They may never say it, they may never reach out, but their hearts and minds remember. And that is the most honest acknowledgement anyone can ever receive, that you mattered, that you still matter, and that some bonds are impossible to sever. So keep moving forward, keep growing, keep standing tall, and keep being unapologetically yourself. Let the quiet nights speak for themselves. Let the reflection of your strength and your worth be the echo that lingers in their thoughts. And know this: no silence, no absence, and no decision can ever diminish the light you carry within you. Because the truth is clear, some people may walk away, but those who are truly connected never truly leave.